Well, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I like how conversational the messages have felt today. They haven't felt too like I'm preaching to you all, but it's just kind of like a conversation, and it's nice to have those from time to time. And so, this entire year's theme is proclaiming the love of Christ. And what does that look like in an offering? How do you proclaim the love of Christ in an offering? Well, proclaiming does not always have to be something that's loud and at someone's face. Just like last year, exalting Christ did not have to be something that was quiet and inward and exclusively just for us and God. We used it outward. I know, and today, I've learned it now that I'm married, that budgeting is necessary to live. And so I know that a lot of people budget an offering that's in your budget to tithe. And I probably don't need to show hands because I'm sure everyone has like a budget, I hope, at this age, if you're living on your own. And so most of you already have a tithe budgeted into your month. And that's good, that's excellent. So this isn't then an offering message that's trying to persuade you into giving, where it's like, oh my goodness, I need to give, I haven't given in so long. It's like, I already have it planned out at the start of my month. I have a check written out. Or it's like, I pay with my credit card and then I pay it off. I'm already like ready. And so this, I'm not trying to persuade you to give. This message is more to change or reinforce or just improve our attitudes, our thoughts, our feelings towards giving. And so oftentimes it happens to me, and I think it can happen to a lot of us, that we forget that the church isn't just a place or just a space or a building, but it's a group of people. It's like if we moved out into the parking lot, or we went down to the park, or we're at Pastor Verme's house, we would still be the same church. We just moved. And so then the church, it's alive. It's a living organism by that logic, which I think is right. The church is a living organism. It's a living thing. It can be loved. It can love as a verb. It can celebrate. It can breed new life. But it can also hurt. The church can mourn. And churches can die as well. And so we should treat the church as that, as a living organism, as a living being. And as such, because it's a living being, it's subject to human emotions to and forth. I'm sure this is, I'm positive that this has existed in just since church has existed, that the phrase, I'm mad at the church. That's been said before. How can you be mad at a building? How can you be mad at empty space? You can't. Unless the church fell on you, like a piece of it, like the door hit you and you stub your toe, then you're like, I'm mad at the church door or something. But when you say I'm mad at the church, or when you say I'm hurt at the church, or the church hurt me, or I'm annoyed at the church, as we heard from Pastor Verme, things can annoy us, and people have been annoyed from the church in the past. It doesn't have to be this church, it could be any church. In every church, someone has been annoyed from the church. That's just, when you get a group of people, someone's going to get annoyed. That just happens. That's who we are. We're people. And that happens because the church is a living organism. And so in Luke 6, verse 31, the verse that Pastor Verme used, do to others as you would have them do to you. When we give, we are treating the church how we want to be treated by it. We all, I'm positive, anyone who's been in this church, this NewLife, for at least a year, has benefited from it in some way, whether it be emotionally, you've gotten counseling, or mentally, you've had someone just talk with you, or you needed friends, or monetarily. There's just a multitude of different ways we've benefited from this relationship with the church. And churches are known to give often more than they receive, just in their nature. That is the nature of the church. It is not to receive everything, it's to give, oftentimes more than it can afford, whether in time or in resources. It's in its nature to give. And so when we're here during the offering, when we give, we all benefit. The church benefits from our offering. And we're then able to give to those who can't give. We're able to go out into the world and to be able to proclaim God, to be able to live out the theme of this year. Because we can proclaim God from a street corner. It'd probably be easier with a megaphone. And you get a megaphone from money. Or the way we have open days. That's proclaiming the love of God. But those aren't free. They aren't. It's just a reality of life. And so in giving, it may be quiet, but we are proclaiming the love of God, because the money doesn't just kind of sit there and then just do nothing. It goes out. It goes when we've done missions in the past, when we had our open days, when we were training people like me. That money goes towards me too. It helps me out. And eventually, once I am a paid intern, I will be paid. And so your money goes somewhere. It helps the church, this living being. And so I just want you to think about that when you give, that it's not just kind of, oh, I'm just giving money. This is just another routine. It's going towards a living being. Because a church can appreciate your offering. It can feel loved by an offering, definitely. And every cent you give, doesn't matter how much you give, even if it's 1 cent, even if it's $1 million, all offerings help tremendously. And so let's love the church in our offering today. Let's love one another. And so you can go ahead and pick up the offering.